And here we go. 3, 2, 1. It's time for more Clubhouse chatter. Here's your host, Norm Ordez.
Hey, we're back for another show, and so, our first guest, Eli Gerba, he was pretty interesting, but this next guest is going to be able to top him. And it is the one and only Ozzie Canseco. Ozzie, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I appreciate you having me on your show.
So now you're driving home from Sioux Falls, correct?
Yes, that's correct. I was brought on board. I was hired as the hitting coach for a team called the Sioux Falls Canaries of the American Association.
And how did your season go?
Well, I was actually brought on board there about a month into the season. There was an instructor, a hitting coach there before me, and I guess that they weren't happy with the results. Guys weren't hitting, so they gave me a call. Chris Patterson gave me a call. He was a manager there at the time, and they were looking for a hitting guy. And I said, absolutely, I'd love the opportunity to come on board and work with the players. And, we were about 500, and the season went pretty well. I managed to help a lot of the players there bring up their batting average, and they were happy with the results that we got.
So now this isn't your first time into the coaching ranks. Now, you and your brother have coached in, I'll let you. So you had Yuma, correct? You coached in Yuma?
Yes, that was, I believe that was 2011. Jose was hired as the manager that I was brought on board as kind of like, I wore many hats. I was interim manager. I got my feet wet in terms of managing. I managed some games there. That was my first experience with managing. Did pretty well, but I was used more as the kind of hitting coach, pitching coach, and bench coach.
Wow, pitching coach. Wow. So you were the second round draft pick in the 1983 amateur draft by the New York Yankees. Talk a little bit about that experience.
Well, it was. I was very flattered to have been even considered, considered to be drafted by the Yankees. At the time, the Yankees was the elite organization. Their background obviously speaks for itself. And I was drafted by them. I immediately said yes. Rick Barrera was the scout who drafted me. He was their top scout at the time. And, I showed a lot of promise at the time. I was young. I had pretty good fastball. But I really still needed to learn the art form of pitching.
And then you ended up with Oakland. And this is where our paths cross. Is we have local coach. He used to coach at Linfield College here in McMinnville, Oregon, and that's Scott Brocious. And then Tim Casey, who is a sheriff's deputy here in Yamhill County. He just ran for sheriff of Yamhill County and lost. And so you played with Tim Casey and Scott Brocious. What do you remember about those two?
Ferocious, they used to call him hard-nosed player, very talented. He had a great career in the big leagues. I'm sure you're aware of. With the Yankees, and he did a fantastic job with them. Tim Casey is one of the nicest guys you'll ever want to meet. He was, at the time, I played Double-A with him in the Southern League for the Buffalo Stars. Left-handed power hitter, first baseman, kind of DH. Ran pretty good, had outstanding power. He was a pretty good hitter. I'm very surprised that he didn't get more of an opportunity in the big league. He was a very good hitter.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with that. Of course, he's part of the the Casey brothers. So, brother Pat coaches Oregon State baseball, and then his brother, which brother is it? Is over at George Fox University. Brian, Chris Casey is over at George Fox. He's a head football coach. But yeah, very prominent, family here. And you're right. The guy can play for whatever reason. If he got hurt or just got burned out, he was gone.
And I honestly think that he suffered a couple of injuries, and I'm not sure about his consistency. But when he played with Leader in Double-A, he impressed me a great deal.
Right.
Scott Brocious.
Now I think Scott Brocious. So of course Scott Brocious didn't put up Hall of Fame numbers, but I think as a third baseman, going to a ball down the line, barehanding it and throwing it onto first base, I think he was probably one of the best around.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I saw him play, I mean, the guy can play third, short, second, outfield, first base, you name it. He's a very talented ball player.
Yes. Yep. And so what do you have to say was the highlight of your career? Do you have a highlight of your career?
Oh, God. Well, I mean, at the minor league, I had a couple, but to say the truth, the highlight of my career at the minor league level was when it was 1990, and it was an organizational thing where the major league club would come down and play against one of the minor league clubs. And in 1990, I was doing very well there. The major league club came down with Mark McGuire and my brother, and the rest of the guys came down and played at the Southern League, which is the Huntsville Stars, our AA part, and it was standing room only. Jose had a tremendous season there. The inaugural year of Huntsville, I believe it was 85. He hit a ton of home runs, did very well, and promoted and to AAA in the big league 85. So he was really loved there and well liked. I started playing there in 89 and 90. Jose's twin brother, the second coming of Jose, was there and started doing really well. So the big league club, like a long story short, comes down and plays us. Jose's first at bat, he hits a double. Everybody goes absolutely insane. Standing ovation for Jose. I come up, I think I got a hit. Jose's next time I hit another double. My following bet, I hit a home run. And as I'm running towards first, second, third, then towards home, it was a dead silence. I'm wondering to myself, hey, what's going on? Well, Jose had run out of his dugout and was waiting for me at home plate. And we did the forearm bash together. And we made contact, the twins. Jose and Ozzie Canseco, we did the forearm bash. The stadium erupted. It was a fantastic experience at the minor league level. That was my top experience. At the big league level was obviously being called up and being in the same lineup as Mark McGuire and Jose Canseco. There was no greater feeling than that. So
who's older, you or Jose?
I'm 2 minutes older than Jose, believe it or not.
Okay. So Scott Brocious. So when Scott Brocious retired, he came back and he started working. He coached his daughter's baseball team in the McMinnville Parks and Rec. And are you still there?
Can you repeat the question? Yeah. Can you repeat the question? I think I lost you.
So when Scott Brocious retired from baseball, he came home and was coaching his daughter's baseball team in the McMinnville Parks and Rec, and I was umpiring his game. And I remember stepping aside and I asked him, I said, hey, who was the most talented baseball player that you ever played with? And he told me Jose Canseco. It was your brother, hands down. He said when Jose was young, he said he could do it all. He could 5-tool player, he could run, he could throw, fielder, he can hit the crap out of the ball. And then he also mentioned, he goes, his brother Ozzie wasn't shabby as well, that he could play as well. And so, I find it interesting. But you continue to play up until like a couple of years ago, correct?
Well, not a couple of years ago. The last time I really played, I had a couple at bats with the Yuma Scorpions, just kind of a promotional thing in 2011. But I gave it up very quickly. The last year that I played seriously was with the Newark Bears of the Atlantic League.
Yep.
Year 2000, I had a really good season there, and I just decided to retire after that.
Now, you also played in Japan and Korea, correct?
Yes, sir. I had the great privilege and opportunity to play in Japan in 1991, and Korea, I believe, I can't remember what year it was. It was probably a couple of years after. I was very briefly at that. But that was a great experience. The style of pitching, they're very technical, and they're very different, disciplined ball players over there. And I really learned when I was there, the couple things that I learned about that hitter. The main thing that I really learned over there was to hit off-speed pitches. You see a lot of off-speed pitches there. You learn to become a better hitter. I learned to let the ball get a little bit more deep, see the ball a little bit better, use my hands. and just take the bat to the ball, try to make solid contact versus swinging or over swinging, using my punch and striking out. So it really helped me a lot.
And now you also played in Mexico too in '99.
Oh yeah, that was quite the experience over there. Again, it's a kind of breaking ball league. A lot of veteran players go there,
Right.
And there was a club there looking for a power hitter, so they contacted me to go over there. That was also a great experience.
So if you had to give advice to younger player, what would it be today? What would be the younger advice that you'd give to the younger guys?
Well, first of all, if you're stay in school as long as you can. Develop at the high school level and the college level. Get good grades and make sure that you're prepared for life. Before you step into a professional atmosphere, a professional field, or decide to sign with a professional team, keep in mind that, you're going to be taken away from your home, and unfortunately, a lot of young players are not ready to leave that home atmosphere and not prepared to leave that home atmosphere and act properly, correctly, and do the right thing. So make sure that you're ready. Young players, make sure that you're ready to step into that professional atmosphere.
So are you going to be coaching again next season?
Well, I'm not sure. The Canaries spoke to me, and that they definitely want me back as a hitting guy. I'd like to manage again. Obviously, I've managed before. Actually, managed last year, the year before. I managed to win a championship in 2013. My first full year managing with the Roadrunners over there in Edinburgh. So I really enjoyed it. So we'll see what happens next year. If I get an opportunity to manage, I'm probably going to take it somewhere. But also, if I get an opportunity to help an organization as a hitting coach, I'd love to do that too.
So now, so you guys came over from Cuba. How old were you when you came over from Cuba?
We were about a year old. My father kind of realized that the situation, the political situation, was deteriorating pretty quickly. So he was a smart man. He was actually an English teacher in Cuba, and was very aware of things. And he made the arrangements for us to get flights over here, and we wound up leaving in '65. We were born in '64, and left the island in '65.
And what was it like growing up with Jose?
It was just we're just brothers. I mean, if you're twins, you don't realize that you're twins. Really, it's normal to you. Everybody else is like, oh, you guys are twins. It's so cute. It's so nice. And it was just Jose, my brother. Even when he made it as a superstar in the big leagues, to me, it was just Jose, my brother. I really didn't understand it. It was kind of comical, funny how people would react to him, like, oh, wow, oh my God, it's Jose Canseco. But to me, he's always just been my brother.
And that goes on all the time with me, working in minor leagues and in different organizations. People are always asking me, so such and such. And I'm like, yeah, but he's just one of the guys. I watch Major League Baseball on TV, and I see a couple of guys that, I was with in the minor leagues, and it's just like, all right, it's just like what you said, it's just Jose. It's just my brother. And yeah, he's a superstar, but you know what? He's one of the guys.
Right. And it was, it was a great experience. I got the experience being the brother of at the time, he was probably at the time when he was healthy and young and healthy, especially healthy at the time. He was probably one of the best players in the game. Probably one of the best players the game will ever see. And here I am, I'm his twin brother, and I was playing baseball too, and kind of started as a pitcher, and suffered an injury to my right, so I had to make up my right arm. So I had to make up a lot of time in terms of learning the art form of hitting. I didn't get to hit in high school because I was a pitcher. Didn't get to hit in minor leagues my first 4 years. So people are saying, Ozzie, are you crazy? You're going to try to play baseball after losing all that time when you should have been, experiencing and learning the art form of hitting. What makes you think that you're going to make up all that time and be able to compete at the minor league level? And I said, well, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to give 100%. And people, unfortunately, compared me to him when I was in the minor leagues, just starting out as a hitter. I was 14 years old. People were like, oh, Ozzie, you suck. How come your brother's so much better than you? This and that, and this, because I lacked experience. But the talent I felt, and once it was all said and done, people started realizing that our talent was very similar. but I just lacked the experience that my brother gathered through all those years. I didn't have the opportunity to gather that experience. But once I did, I held my own. I did all right.
I think you did all right. I mean, the fact is, you played baseball, you played the game you love, and now you're into the coaching aspect of it. And you're right. Your brother was a superstar. Your brother was one of the best to ever play the game. Man, he was fun to watch. And, I will never forget, the late 80s, those Oakland A's. I mean, how can you forget? Mark McGuire and Brocious and, man, I mean, they were really, really good. And there's reasons why they won World Series. And, with everything else aside, I don't give a crap about everything else. Fact is you still got to play the game. And that takes talent. You still got to work your butt off to get there. And you guys did that. And so we loved having you on the show. We'd love to have you come back on another day sometime. And thanks for taking time out and in your drive and coming on the show.
Well, it's my pleasure, and anytime you need any information on baseball or whatever in terms of, the game itself, the game hasn't really changed much. You got a bunch of guys out that love the game. I wish the thing that has changed are the money the players are making. That's incredible, because I remember years ago in '89 when Jose's first signed his 5-year deal. It's kind of laughable now compared to what the players are making now. But back then, when he signed his 5-year deal, I think his 5-year contract averaged out to about $5.5 million a year. If you look at what the players are making now, your average player, average to below average player, particularly is making $5.5 million a year. It's incredible how the salaries just skyrocket.
Yeah, absolutely. And, maybe next time we have you on the show, we can talk a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. I love it.
Well, you have a safe trip home, and love chatting with you, and let's do it again soon.
You take care of yourself.
All right. Thank you, Ozzie. Once again, Mr. Ozzie Canseco. Oh, man. People, talk about the drugs in sports and stuff like that. It's all crap. I don't necessarily condone using it, but I've been in the clubhouse and I've seen what's at stake. And so, Major League Baseball allowed it to happen, and it happened, and now there's fallout. And so, but there's no doubt about it. Jose Canseco was one of the best baseball players in the game during his time. And, say what you want to say. So I'm Norm. That's Brian. We are sponsored by baseballism.com. I got the flag man representing right there in the little hat. And Baseball Dudes, Chris Gazelle, baseballdudes.com. To be the best, you must train like the best. Check them out. And Base by Pros, Mitch Canham up there in Washington. And they also have Brent Lillibridge doing some stuff with them. And MDM Designs, Mark Canham. We have a new logo for the show, and we will be doing some shirts coming up soon. As always, we stream live at yamhilltoday.com. If you want to sponsor us, give me a call. Email me, normbro18@gmail.com. We're on Twitter, Clubhouse Chatter 1T. We're on Facebook, Clubhouse Chatter with Norm. We're also on YouTube and iTunes. Once again, I'm Norm. That's producer Brian. We'll be back about 5:45 with the ageless arm, Rodney Tafoya. Thank you for listening.
You've been listening to Clubhouse Chatter with Norm or Dez. Stay tuned for more.